Pickle?
Yes.
Hit the air raid siren. Time for Monday morning. Monday morning fallout, of course, where we overreact to the football weekend. And for the first time, we've got some overreacting to do. Got a lot.
We always
lot to
overreact.
overreact to. Let's start with my 3 big thoughts. 3 big thoughts. Thought number 1, and away we go. So the season's here.
Fact.
It's happening. And we had games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And my overall takeaway from the results that we saw over the course of the weekend is that if you look at the very top, the very, very top of each classification, there weren't a ton of surprises. I think that you saw a lot of teams that came out and looked the part of a contender in week 1. And these were teams we thought were going to be contenders. We were pretty pleased with the way that our rankings stood up, for example, at the very top of the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a moving target on each classification. But I think every year I forget how deep most of these classifications are, because there were a number. When we reveal the rankings here coming up at 12:30, there's a lot of churn at the bottom of the rankings, at the bottoms of the top 10s, and there's you had a number of teams that I think came out flat in week 1 and disappointed in week 1 that didn't show necessarily what they could do. And that, to me, represents, again, I don't want to overreact to 1 week. It's only 1 week of data. It's only 1 data point. But you did have a number of teams, I think, not necessarily the very, very top, but maybe that next tier, that maybe that next tier is either bigger than we thought it was, or we had the wrong teams in there.
Right.
Meaning that, like, if you think that tier 1 is 4 teams, like teams that you're like, okay, these are bona fide, locked and loaded, would be a surprise if they weren't a state semifinal contenders. Maybe that's 4. Is the next tier 10 teams? Or is it 6 teams and we just had the wrong 6 teams in there? That's something that we're starting to figure out here in week 1. A fair number of those teams that I think you saw that you're going to see the churn at the bottom of the rankings that I think represent what may just be a little bit of a calibration period here as we figure things out. Now, look, obviously there's a lot of different mitigating circumstances with a lot of these teams. Okay, not only what happened in the offseason, but it's also still week 1, and you don't want to overreact to 1 data point.
Especially, yeah, the teams with the brand new coaches too. Those you could see took a.
Oh yeah.
There was a big learning curve.
I think there's
there.
a learning curve. You're exactly right. So that's thought number 1. Thought number 2, early statements. And there were, for all the teams for a number of teams that struggled, I think that there were also a number of teams that came out and stamped themselves as no doubt contenders. I thought what Brock did to Bushland was really impressive. That was a clobbering.
That was a statement.
It was. Yeah. And they came out on both sides of the ball and looked like a team to beat. I thought, and by the way, as theoretically everything in the magazine's my fault. As one of the people who made him number 1 in 3A Division 1 ahead of the 2-time defending champs in Grandview, that made me feel pretty good about, like, okay, Brock making us look smart. Argyle. We entered the season with one of the big questions, not just at Argyle and not just in 4A, but maybe across the entire state of Texas, is what does Argyle do at quarterback? How do they replace Bo Hogaboom? Well, C.J. Rogers
lit it up.
C.J. Rogers was spectacular in week 1. It's only week 1, and maybe Decatur's going to be a little slow out of the gates, but they looked great. They looked fantastic in week 1. I also thought, and it was less emphatic because of just the nature of the game, but I thought La Vega's defense looked really, really good against Calhoun in what we kind of called a pop quiz game for them. That was pretty darn impressive to me. I thought they made a statement. I thought Canadian did their normal thing where they kind of beat the brakes off of West Texas, and that's not a bad West Texas team, by the way.
No.
The other one that I would kind of shout out as a number 1 team that made a statement is Shiner. Yes. Shiner took on a Hallettsville team that's bigger than them, albeit with a new head coach. But this is a Shiner team. No, I'm sorry, not a new head coach. This is a Shiner team that came out and looked really, really strong against a team that's bigger than them, punching up 2 divisions and came home with a 44-34 win. I thought that was a statement. I thought you had a number of those teams that came out and really made a statement in week 1. And thought number 3, wide open spread. I ain't talking about offense. I got a number of text messages and DMs over the weekend from 6A and 5A coaches, and you're going to notice that 6A and 5A is not playing right now because they're waiting a week. And pretty much universally, all those text messages were, are these small schools going to ruin it for us?
Yeah.
Are these small schools that are not adhering to the UIL guidelines as far as fans in the stands, as far as masks, as far as distancing, as far as capacity limits, are they going to ruin it for us? Are we even going to get off the ground?
Right.
And I want to be extremely clear that I think most of the schools did it right.
Yes.
I think most of the schools and most of the fans did it right. I want to be clear. Okay? But we've all been in 4th grade before. And we've all heard Mrs. Thompson, Mrs. Thompson say, we will go to recess whenever we can all be quiet.
Yep.
Whenever we can all be quiet. And most of the kids sitting there being quiet. And then there's Brody in the back of the class who's acting a fool. Okay? And guess what? That impacts all of us.
And then you don't get to go to recess.
Then you don't get recess. There were a number, I thought that looking at social media and getting reports from various people across the state, there were a number, and I'm not going to call out any programs in particular, but there were a number of schools where they took UIL guidelines to be like suggestions.
And not even like the type of suggestions that you get that it's like, you know that they actually mean it. Like it was ridiculous. I was mind blown.
There were photos and videos from the weekend that you would have thought that nothing was happening.
You would have thought it was last season.
And guys, look, here is a statement of fact. Every time a school does that, the chances of us finishing the season drops. Plain and simple. Now, look, maybe it only drops by 0.001%. Maybe it drops by 30%. Maybe we never had a chance to finish the season and it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is that every time you see these schools that are not adhering to these social distancing guidelines, that makes it more likely that coronavirus is going to spread. And if it makes it more likely that coronavirus is going to spread, it makes it more likely that football is getting shut down. So you're either with us or you're against us. Which side of the fence are you on? And it's like, I'm sorry to get on a soapbox about this, but it is absurd. If you love high school football, prove it. 3 big thoughts. 3 helmet stickers. Helmet sticker to Cisco quarterback Hunter Long. 316 yards and 3 touchdowns rushing, 39 yards and a touchdown passing. That might be reversed. In any case, he had a fantastic game. I believe that's a sophomore. And Cisco is a team we've got high expectations for. If they're going to get that kind of play from a sophomore quarterback, yeah, feeling good about them. Cisco quarterback Hunter Long gets a helmet sticker. Speaking of quarterbacks, Big Spring quarterback Gabriel Baeza threw for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns, added 47 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Big Spring, this is amazing. Big Spring won their opener for the first time since 2014. They're 1-0 for the first time since 2014. That's amazing. Congratulations to Big Spring quarterback Gabriel Baeza. He gets a helmet sticker. So does San Saba running back Stone Sears. 185 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground, and he caught 3 passes for 67 yards and a touchdown. A helmet sticker for San Saba running back Stone Sears. We're going to mix it up this year because I want to end on a positive note. I'm tired of all these things.
I was just going to say, it switched. I had to switch my things around. Yeah. I was like, I think he probably did this on purpose, so I'm just going to go with it.
I started thinking, I was like, well, we don't want anyone teams to worry about.
Yeah.
3 teams to worry about. Mason. Guys.
Yeah. They got punched.
14-0 loss to Comanche at the Puncher Dome. They have lost their last 2 season openers and their last 2 home openers after winning umpteen consecutive games at the Puncher Dome. 14-0 they lose to Comanche. All credit to Comanche. Great win for them. But Mason, what happened there, boys? Punchers are 0-1. A little worried about them. Also a little worried about Springtown. Springtown loses to Glen Rose on Friday night. And look, I think Glen Rose is okay. I don't think that's a pushover Glen Rose team. They lose 27-13. The offense could not get going. They fell down 20-6 at halftime and just could not come back. All credit to the Glen Rose that they made it happen. But basically, the offense is just stuck in the mud. They had a grand total of, do some quick math, like 212 yards of total offense. That ain't gonna cut it. So yeah, that's I'm a little worried about the Porcupines. I'm worried about Porcupines. Finally, McLean.
Holy Ben Crockett. Adios, buddy.
Yikes, guys. Now
that one was.
Now look, all praise to Klondike. Okay, who came out, blitzed out, I think scored 36 points in the first quarter and just never looked back. But McLean gets 45.
Yeah.
In their opener. Yikes. That was surprising. And by the way, and again, I want to be clear that where are those? I can't find that. I want to be clear that Klondike was actually the favorite in this game, it looks like. But yowza. That is really, really shocking.
Yeah.
To have for them to get 45 like that. A little worried about McLean, of course. They're the 2018 1A Division I state champions, and then the 2019 1A Division I runners up. Obviously without Ben Crockett, but a little worried about them. Really worried about McLean. 3 teams to watch. Chelsea Spearman.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what Spearman did?
They did that football thing.
They took on Stratford, and they mollywopped them 42-6. The Lynx, a huge win. Keep an eye on Spearman. That is a team that made a statement in week 1. Really impressive. Back to the 6-man ranks. We're going to talk 6-man football, Granger Hunters, in a moment. Westbrook. Westbrook takes down Motley County.
Yeah.
It was a wild week of 6-man football.
It really, really was.
And Westbrook takes down Motley County and Jake Richards, and this was a really impressive win for Westbrook. Keep an eye on them. The Wildcats, big win for them. And finally, Wall. Big W theme there. Wall. There's going to be a lot of focus in that Wall-Eastland game about who wasn't on the field, because Baron Morton didn't play. They were without, I believe, 11 players due to injury and suspension. Nobody's prying into what happened, but Eastland, something happened in Eastland, and Coach Morton wanted to take a stand. And I understand that when you have a 3A team that has a Texas Tech commit quarterback, he's a key part of that offense. 38-3 though from Wall. That ain't just about Eastland.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Wall looked great. I believe it's Blake Morrison, I think, is their new quarterback. He was in complete command of that flexible offense. Chase Rios was great. The offensive line was grinding along, and the defense looked fantastic. Keep an eye on Wall. A hot start for the Hawks. Those are 3 teams to watch, and that is Monday Morning Fallout.